Let's get started. Right. So what we have discussed in the previous session about the uh, different techniques of business analysis like pestle, spot, most, catway, Moscow technique, right? So all these techniques we have discussed. Wherein today I am going to discuss about requirement lifecycle management, which is the next knowledge area. In this requirement lifecycle management, complete requirements relating to the particular project, whatever the project we do, complete requirements which are relating to the project, everything will be discussed under requirement lifecycle management. If we see the requirement lifecycle management, there are different tasks being a BA we have to perform. Of course, this is not alone being a BA we do. There will be with other people as well. The first thing is about tracing of requirements. That is the first one. Second, maintaining of requirements. Third, prioritization of requirements, followed by assessing requirement changes and approval of requirements. So these are the tasks which will be performed by us being a business analyst. Now, what does meant by tracing of requirements? What exactly it means? Tracing of requirements means how we have to trace the requirements, whatever were finalized. Because if you want to know, there are two things which we have to know first. The first one, which is called use case, and second is called test case. Use case followed by test case, two different things. Use case is the document, or a use case is a document, I can say, which explains you about the functional process. Functional process of a particular requirement. Right? This is where generally we talk about use case. Functional process means what is the functional requirement, what must be the primary condition we have to give, what are the inputs to be given, what are the external dependencies will be there, what is the output we get after that, what will be the main success scenario. So all these things comes under use case. This is a functional process, means what input you are giving, what output we are expecting, in between what is the success scenario we have to maintain, and is there any dependencies do we have or exceptions and all of the things. So this is what we call it as use case, which is majorly used for development team to develop a particular functionality. But whereas in agile environment we don't have, because whenever nowadays we are following agile, in agile we have an advantage where we don't require to prepare any use cases and all everything. If you want, we can prepare, but that's not required, because we are writing user stories directly. Apart from the user stories, we are even writing acceptance criteria also. But when we follow the traditional practices of application development, so use cases are something important. Use cases means the primary conditions, all that. I'll show you 1 minute. Just give me a minute. I think there is some template of use case was there with me. Just give me a minute. I will show you. Yeah, use case template. Are you there, both of you? Vikrant, Anand.
Yes, Raj.
Okay, right. So this is what the use case template you can see, right? So this is a use case template which normally we use. I think you guys can see, right? This is what use case template. So for every functionality, there will be use case number. But of course, this is a template I'm showing you for ATM system, right? For ATM system related application example, I'm showing you for a better understanding. So use case number, ID number will be mentioned here. Use case 3. Of course, this is use case number 3. It means there are 2 more use cases per day. Assume this number is 3. What is the functionality here? Withdrawal of money of this is the functionality. Now, this is what generally we call it as title or the major functionality is. Now, here we need to mention the description of that particular title. What exactly this title is. Means customer can withdraw money from their ATM. This is the description. Now, first of all, we should understand who is going to use this functionality. Who will be the user here? Customer is a user. Anant, Vikrant, listening?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Raj.
Okay. So who is the user here? Customer is a user. Right? Customer is a person who will be going to the ATM counter and he withdraw money, he or she withdraw money. So those people are called as primary actor. Okay. Now, if a primary actor wants to withdraw money, what must be the precondition? Precondition is to insert ATM card and they have to give the PIN number. Am I right or not? This is precondition. Precondition means if you perform this functionality, what must be the precondition? What is the post condition? Post condition is withdrawal money. This is what finally we want to have a final this thing. Now, in between whatever happens, this is what we call it as main or success scenario. Understood, Vikrant, Anant, right? These are the success scenarios. What customer can do? Customer has to select an option for withdrawal. Once he has inserted the card, he or she, right? They have to insert the money, enter money, click OK button. Right? These are the different success scenarios we have to write. But this is not only the case. There will be some extensions also. What is extension? For example, a person has forgotten his password. What must be the assumption we have to, right? So what he has to do? He has to change the password. If he wants to change the password, what process to be followed? What kind of message do they get? Okay. For example, customer has chosen the wrong type of transaction. How they can go back to the main page. All these are comes under extensions, which is where generally we call it as assumptions and all everything over here. Next, how frequent this functionality will be used by the customer? Whenever a customer wants to withdraw, this frequency of functionality will be used. Now, these are the 3 things. These are the 3 things. You just ignore it as of now. Okay. These are not relevant now. This is what generally we call it as use case, right? This is what use case is. So for every functionality, please do remember when we follow the traditional practices of application development, normally for every functionality, there is a use case we prepare like this. Template, whatever I am showing you may not be the same for all the organizations. It may have some variation, but as far as my template I'm showing to you, this is almost one the same. In everywhere, the same thing. Like this, for whatever the functionalities we have, those many use cases we are preparing. Understand, this is use case which I told you, which will be especially used for whom this is. This is majorly useful for the development team to write the code. Understood, Vikrant, Anant, right? Developer to write the code, because developer should know about the process and all everything well, because developer can write the code for the project, but that scenarios and all explanation is required. So for that, this use case template is being used for. Now here, this is status. Status means whether, because this use case, if it is under process, we'll mention under process. If it is completed, we call it as closed. Otherwise, status will be open as of now. Assume that it was not started yet. And to whom we have given this, means who is going to prepare this or who is preparing this. And this functionality, whatever the functionality are we talking about, is this functionality, which priority is this functionality is? Is it a high level priority, intermediary, or low level priority? So this is how generally a use case templates which normally we will be preparing. So whenever we want to trace up the requirements as part of the application development I'm talking, okay, please don't consider that from the context of BA all the time. If you want to, if we as a team, I'm saying, right, as a all combining all the technical team, everybody, tracing of requirements is needed. If you want to trace requirements, what is needed? You need to have use cases. Point number one. Point number two, you need to know test cases also. You need to know test cases also. So if you want to do test cases, normally test cases and all everything will be prepared by the testing team. 1 minute, I'll show you. It's a test case document. This is a test case document. So this is a text-based document. For example, this is for a banking related one. So this is a test case document. First of all, what is the scenario? Checking the functionality to log into the website, right? This is the scenario. If this scenario we want to perform, what is it required? First of all, we have to go to the website. This is the procedure. In this website, whatever should be there on the screen, this is what हम बोलते हैं expected result. Of course, beside expected result, there will be actual result also, because expected result is what customer is expecting. The same thing must be actual result. If both are same, the test condition is considered as pass. If both are not same, whatever the defects we have identified, those defects will be written here. So this is where generally test cases are. So test cases will be used for the testing team. Use cases and all everything will be used by the developers. Vikrant, Anand, are you following? Clear to you or not?
Yes.
Yes,
And
Raj.
what will be the role of BA in this? Like,
I will tell you. I will tell you.
we need to.
I will tell you. I will tell you that.
Oh.
I will tell you. Let me come. You understood this, right? This is the difference between use case to test case. Now, either it can be a use case or a test case. As far as this requirements itself is concerned, if you talk about these procedures and all that, who is going to give this information? This information will be given by the business analyst. Understand? Clear or not? Anand, Vikrant, understood or not?
Yes.
Anand, Vikrant, understood? Anand, Vikrant, understood?
Yes, Raj.
Right?
Yes.
So use cases, even for the use case, whatever the use case I have shown you, even for the use case or for the test case, who is giving all this information? This information will be given by the BA. How a business analyst got this information? Maybe he might have collected this from the stakeholders, or based on the observation and all everything, business analyst team will prepare this information and they will be preparing the test case, use case. Now here, as Anand has asked, who is going to prepare this? There are two things. For a business analyst, whenever we are working, this use cases and all everything will be prepared by us. Being a BA, we do that. We do that. This is point number one. Point number two, even requirements will be given by us. Even test case, so use cases can also be prepared by us. This is the first point. Now, when we are talking about test cases, there are two answers I can give. One answer, for example, a person who is coming from the testing background as a BA, if that organization requires business analyst has to prepare the test cases and all that, being a BA, we must be ready to prepare this. Because anyway, these functionalities, processes and all everything, being a BA, we will be knowing, right? So, because there are regular templates which are available in the organization like this, like this, so that we can update. If not, as part of manual testing, this will be done by the testing team, anyone, right? So either normally testing team will do that, but otherwise, usually this will be prepared by the business analyst. But whatever the related information, either it can be use case or the test case, this process, all these detailed requirements will be given by the business analyst. That's how, being a BA, we are related here. Understood, Vikrant and Anand?
Yes.
Right? Now,
Yes, sir.
this is what generally, so this use case as well as test case must have a similarity. That is what we talk about tracing of requirements. Okay, tracing of requirement means use case followed by the test case, both has to be same. Whenever we have completed the particular functionality is completed, both use case and as well as test case has to be same. Then only that particular functionality or the project we consider as successfully completed. If there is any deviation between these two things, there is a correction which has to be made by the technical people or business people. So for that, in this tracing of requirements, there is a process which normally we call it as RTM, which stands for Requirement Traceability Matrix. Yeah, so this is what generally the requirement traceability matrix, which testing people will be prepared. Requirement traceability matrix. This is how generally the requirement traceability matrix on an Excel sheet looks like. In this, here we'll be mentioning the ID number, means functional ID number will be mentioned here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so and so, XYZ. Next, here we will be mentioning the requirement. There are a couple of hundreds of requirements will be there. All the requirement ID numbers will be mentioned over here. Now, every requirement may have some sub-requirements, right? For example, if you take one requirement, that requirement may have some sub-requirements also sometimes. That is all comes under associated requirements. For that particular requirement, what exactly customer is expecting will be mentioned over here. Apart from project name, project manager name, all that, apart from all that I'm saying. Now, for that particular functionality, whatever the functionality it can be, so that description has to be mentioned here. Next, is this functionality is under the process of testing or else is it under the process of development, right? Or else is it not yet started? This is where generally we see the testing. This is where generally testing comes into picture. 1 minute, let me download and I will open here. But normally we don't do it all this manually on Excel, because whatever we prepare, being a testing team, what normally they do is they will connect this to the application lifecycle, because there are different ALM tools will be used in the organizations, which is called application lifecycle management. So normally these Excels and all everything will be connected over there. So here you can see there is an option called status, isn't it? Right? So status can be updated. A status can be anything. Status can be testing phase or it can be coding phase, right? All that status has to be updated over here. After status, next is type. What kind of functionality is this? Is this a functional requirement? Is it a non-functional one? Is it a security requirement? That has to be updated. Next, priority. Low level priority, medium, and high level priority. Means priority to develop I am talking about. Next, complexity. What kind of complexity? Low level, medium, and high level complexity. Next, to whom we have assigned this, and in which architectural design document this particular requirement was number. And because every document, if you see, there will be some numbers, 1, 1.1, 1.1.1, like that. The design document number relating to that particular functionality will be mentioned here. And then next, where it was mentioned in the technical specification, followed by what kind of components are we using here. And what are, if there is any modules are relating for the project and all, in which software module this is related. For example, there is a module for login related stuff which was there, right? So whatever the functionality relating to login, relogin and all, everything will be falls under the software module 1 only. Now, this particular one, which test case number is this? For example, this is the test case, right? So this is what the test case we have prepared. Which number is this? This is the test scenario. This is the test scenario. Which test case number it was? This test case number has to be updated over here. Next, tested in which environment? Normally, this will be prepared by the testing team, of course. And where this is implemented, whether it is verified or not. If it is verified, it will be verified and validated. And if there is any comments, those comments will be written here. This is what normally we call it as requirement traceability matrix. Means what requirements we have taken, these requirements were developed or not, is it was tested, if it was tested, whether it is passed or failed, if it is verified and all everything, if there is any additional comments will be written, so that how many, if there is a project, there are hundreds of requirements which will be there, so that we have to trace the requirements, what we have taken, what we have developed, what we have tested, which was verified, any comments, etc. So this is what generally we talk about tracing of requirement. This is the first thing, being a business analyst team along with testing team, underline this point, along with it, because most of the activity here will be done by the testing team. In connect to the testing team, we do that. So that's the reason why tracing of requirements, when we want to do requirements, even though being a BA we are giving, whatever the process of RTM and all, everything will be done by the testing team. For that, whatever related to the requirements and all will be given by the BA. This is the first task which is under requirement lifecycle management. Clear, both of you?
Yes, Raj.
Yes, Raj. Raj, that was the standard format, but RTM, what you found?
Yes. See, whatever the formats I am showing you are the formats which are available with me. Almost this is the same. Because company to company, people to people, they may have some differences. Minor.
Yeah, tool might be different, but
either
the
it can
format
be
is
RTM, either it can be RTM or it can be use case, it can be a business requirement document. Templates almost one the same. You don't see much difference. Much difference. Maybe minor differences depends on organization to organization. They may have in a different way. But end of the day purpose as well as the templates will almost look like this. You don't see much difference. This is applicable for all the test cases, for all the documents. I mean, it can be BRD, it can be SRS, it can be RTM, or it can be use case, it can be test case. Because see, the process remains same. For example, when you talk about test case, what is that you write in the test case? What are the expected results? What are the actual results? What must be the scenario? What must be the process steps, right? So whichever the template are we using and how different it was, end of the day, the content which you have to be mentioned in the test case remains constant. Understood, Anand? Clear or not? Right?
yes, Raj.
That won't change, right? So that is remains constant. But normally nowadays when we are moving in agile, these much of lamba procedure we are not following, because these are all time consuming activities. We are writing user stories and all. But I always advisable when you are learning BA, it is always better to learn the basic traditional practices also, because we never know what kind of opportunity we come across. Even sometimes if someone is asking you to prepare a BRD document, you must be ready to do that. because so that's the reason I'm explaining both. I'm explaining the traditional practices like BRDs, all that. At the same time, I'll be explaining in coming days about how to write user stories in Jira, so that whichever his people are asking in that particular profile, if you have some hands-on experience in both, we can use any one either. We have to be ready because we are following and we are writing user stories now in our live world. But maybe we don't know, right? Because still there are most of the projects, even I could see, most of the projects are running in traditional practices of application development. So we may get a need to write documents, all that. So it's always better to learn both. Whichever comes, we must be ready. End of the day, we must be ready to say yes. That's
right.
That is important. This is all for today, and the next point tomorrow I'm going to explain.
Before quick question. So let's assume that we are having an interview with the interviewer, and when they ask us what tools are you familiar with, or what question would come across to us when we have to discuss with the interviewer about what we know as a BA, or what tools do we use. So this is one of the things that we can discuss, right? Like we are familiar with RTM tool, or not tool, but the RTM practice, or how would we put across? Because there would be synonyms, like as you said, this RTM to another file. Yeah, it could have another name as well. So what was the other name that you mentioned?
Sorry? RTM, Requirement Trace Application Lifecycle Management Tools, ALM tools. ALM, Quality Center, all that.
So let's say if I'm an interviewer and if I have to ask you how, what do you know, or what tools or what parameters are you aware about as a BA? So you will mention one of them as RTM, right? That you are familiar with.
No, don't mention. I am typing here. You can note it. I am typing here. These tools you can mention.
Because alongside learning, I also want to prepare myself for the interview, so that if the interviewer has to ask me this question in a different way, I just want to be ready for that.
Whatever the interview related, by end of the course, I'll discuss about that, not in video.
Oh, okay.
Because it deviates, so that I don't discuss anything relating to interview while I am taking any BA session.